I'd also argue, to Robert's point, is that the people in charge of entertainment nowadays simply don't understand who their customer is. Like, there's this thing called demo sniping, and I think Kathleen Kennedy is probably the most guilty of this, which is where they have an established fan base of like white males, for instance, right? And they can just take those people for granted because it's like they're a big fan base. They're going to like whatever we put out with the brand on it. But if we can bring in more women, if we can bring in more people of color, then we can expand the audience demographic and make the franchise more profitable and more valuable. And so they do this by feminizing it, putting more women into it, putting more people of color into it, and hoping to attract those people who just historically haven't liked, the genre or the franchise or whatever. And they're hoping to broaden the audience demographic and therefore make more money, instead of catering to the demographic they know for a fact wants this stuff, and therefore alienating at least half of that audience. So in trying to expand the audience demographic, they're actually shrinking it because they're alienating so many of the hardcore fan base to begin with. And this is a systematic problem through Hollywood. At least I think it has been since I've been involved in the industry, which is basically, hey, the people at the top, the shot callers, don't know who their audience is. They don't know.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying. So, and maybe Chris can jump in here in a second, because that's what Matt, I think you laid it out perfectly, because, what is the point of, and if you go back to when when New Trek first came out, right? You got Star Trek coming back. Jason Isaacs said something really important right out the gate. He completely, there were some fans pushing back on things that were said. And he's like, look, you know what? You can say all you want, but you're going to watch it anyways. I don't care if you don't watch it. And he was telling these fans. Now, Jason Isaacs wasn't a Star Trek guy. He wasn't. So he had to hear that shit from somebody else. Somebody told him that they'll watch no matter what, right? And so is there this attitude, just what Matt was just saying, and maybe Chris, you can jump in. Is there an attitude that, well, we don't really care what our legacy fans care about because they're going to show up anyway, so screw those guys? I mean, what do you think, Chris?
It's unfortunate that that's the attitude, and I feel like that attitude comes from the people, the people that are the shepherds of these franchises. It's the executives. I mean, look, I have had the opportunity to work in the corporate space. I've worked for. I mean, G4 was very not corporate at the beginning, but then it was acquired by Universal, Comcast, all that, right? So. I don't know. It's you definitely see, even in certain corporate spaces, if you have executives that are very not corporate. When I was at G4, there was an executive named John Ryber. He was very not corporate, and he had a rep of developing material that was, that was not traditional. He actually did the pilot for the Howard Stern show for E, and he worked on the Howard Stern show at E for a long time. He came from E and he came to G4 and developed shows, and just sort of was the one sort of always encouraging, go off the rails. If you do it perfect, fine. If you make a mistake, even better, because the mistake will be live and you'll have fun with it.